can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fuck it.
Here we go. It's a Monday, October 7th. It's Puck and the go-to guy with you. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop inside the PuckSports studios, built by Limback Lumber. Contractors, we're talking to you. Also, you do-it-yourselfers. They offer free deliveries from everything from whole house packages to homeowner projects. They've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. No one does it better than Limback Lumber. Old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. Click on that QR code. It's going to take you right to the website. Jimmy Moore, how are you, sir, on this Monday?
Doing great, Puck. I heard the sun is shining in Seattle. It's shining here in Bend, Oregon. All is well. Yeah.
All is well. We've got a jam-packed show for you. We've got Curtis Crabtree and Tim Booth coming up at top of the hour. I had to rename the show because I got a couple of complaints. People are saying, hey, there's already a Seahawks show out there called the Hawks Nest. Are you trying to steal that guy's thunder? I'm like, no, I had never heard of it. My bad. Sorry.
Who's doing that?
I don't know. There was just somebody on
field
YouTube
goals or
I don't know. I was unaware, so I changed it. So, well, I don't want it. This guy's been doing it. I don't want to step on his toes, so I'll just rename it.
What's the new name?
The only reason I named it Hawks Nest was because that was the first place I had tickets when I was at the new stadium, and I loved it up there. You'll appreciate it. We named it the Ground Puck Podcast.
The Ground Puck Podcast.
Pretty good,
like
huh?
that.
Not bad.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to bring some of the younger listeners up to speed on that, I think.
And so then I found this open to play for it. Okay, and I think you'll appreciate it.
You know that if you prepare well, your team is probably going to play well. You're not always going to win, but they're going to play hard. And they're going to go out there and give good performance. You can live with that.
Today we're going to talk about our next opponent.
You're right, Jim. There will be some explanation for the younger audience. Why do you call it that? It's Chuck Knox. It's the greatest head coach in Seahawks football history. Fight me. Okay, greatest head coach in Seahawks history. And so he had a nickname. His nickname was Ground Chuck. Why? Because that's all they would do was run the ball. Maybe something the Seahawks could have done yesterday. So he got the nickname Ground Chuck.
Yeah, I always like that. Ground Chuck. Boy, what a no-nonsense type of coach. I remember being really intimidated one time when they came up on a trip to Alaska, and we went to Prudhoe Bay with some of the Seahawks, but interviewing Chuck Knox for the first time, and I was in my early 20s, I was so nervous. I thought, God, that's Chuck Knox. And then, do you remember that one season when Kurt Warner got hurt? What year was that?
It was 84.
84.
Yeah.
When they had to go from Ground Chuck to Air Knox.
Air Knox.
Let Dave Craig just go for it.
They let the kids say they let him cook.
Yeah, they let him cook, whatever they let him do. But yeah, it was kind of cool because, Knox always liked running the ball, and he just said, hey, man, we're not going to be able to run the ball without Kurt Warner, so we're going to change up, and things got really – that was the year they beat Miami in the playoffs too, wasn't it?
The year before.
Oh, the year before. Okay. Well, anyway, so yeah, I like it. Ground Puck, and you got the Huck the Huskies podcast, or whatever the hell you call it.
Puck
the Huskies, whatever. Yeah.
Which again,
disappointing afternoon watching them. But
the thing is, I think I'm gonna make this plea to Jordan and Elise is why don't you guys just do the show? Part of the reason doing Puck the Huskies was I really thought this was going to be a down year for them, and it still can be, but I do really just kind of want it was more to mock them more than anything. No. So maybe
I'm sick of.
Maybe I should just let them do the show. I know what you're going to say because I know you, even before you say it, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, we know each other pretty well, so I think you're right. And I know that you don't like this either. I heard it twice today. I heard it on a podcast and I heard it on a Seattle radio show. This
should
team
be 6-0.
This Husky team could be 6-0. And I'm like, fuck you. God, I'm so sick of that. 6-0. You could have lost the Michigan game too. But fortunately, you had some kid quarterbacking for Michigan that couldn't throw. Plus, I'm waiting for you to do a play on words with his last name.
Tuttle?
No, the Michigan quarterback, the first one. Orgy.
Oh,
Puck.
Orgy. Oh,
Orgy.
Well,
yeah, come on. You must have something.
They had an orgy in the backfield all day long against him. He was terrible. I mean, I don't understand how Michigan can't have a quarterback.
Well, yeah, and then they bring in a seventh-year senior. I looked up his age. He's 25.
You know where he started his career?
He was at Utah at one point, wasn't he?
Utah and then Indiana. Yeah, I don't get how a program like that doesn't have a quarterback. It's amazing. It really is. It really is amazing. Yeah,
if they had an above-average quarterback, it might have been a little bit different game. But
I will give the Huskies. I give the Huskies the Rutgers game. I don't give them the Apple Cup. I'm so tired of hearing that stupid argument. They played one quarterback this season and they lost. They lost. They've played one decent quarterback this entire year and they lost the game. And he was the best player on the field. That's why you lost the game. You lost the game because you got beat in the trenches, and the best player on the field was the opposing team's quarterback. That's why you lost.
So why do they say they should have won against us?
It's just because
why is that?
They just want to say it. But hey, now here's the deal. Because a lot of people like what happened because they want them to keep winning and they want Texas Tech to keep winning. Now, I want Texas Tech to keep winning, and I'm glad that they won against Arizona this past weekend. Now, for me, I'd like the Huskies to lose. I don't really care what it does for the strength of schedule at the end of the year. It's a complete, utter long shot for the Cougs to get into the college football playoff. I don't think it's even going to happen. So all we're talking about now is what bowl game you're going to get into. I don't know. I looked at ESPN yesterday, and one of them's got us at the Holiday Bowl. Signed, sealed, and delivered. I'll take it right now. Just give me the Holiday Bowl, and good to go. Fine, no matter what. But this whole idea, we want them to win so it improves, our resume at the end of the year. I don't really.
Who's saying that?
Well,
are there people saying that?
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
If you're a Coug, you got to root against the Huskies at all.
Of course, yeah. I was at a little get together, but thing in Magnolia, and they had the game on. It was at this school, like a school fundraiser, and the game on, and I'm the only one in there. There's a couple other Cougs in there that I knew, and we're just kind of silently pumping our fist a little bit, like, come on, Michigan, let's play the fight song, let's go. A lot of groans when the kid fumbled the ball. It's like, damn it.
No, I know. A backbreaker when he fumbled, but
I
knew that was a bad bet. I bet with my heart. They always tell you not to bet with your heart.
They're a better team than Michigan. They're just a better team than Michigan. Michigan's not that good. Boise State would wipe the field with Michigan. I mean, honestly, they would. They would wipe the field with Michigan. Then again, I know that's going to take something away from it. They came in there. They were overranked. This is why preseason rankings are so stupid in college football. Although I love preseason rankings, but they are dumb. They were just a better football team in really all phases of the game. And good for your guy, because you love yourself some Grady Gross. Good for him.
I was happy for Grady Gross.
I know you were.
Yeah, because, when kickers go south, they usually don't go north again. And, to see that kid finally, hit a couple field goals. But I don't even know. That one that was blocked, I don't even know if he hit that one well.
No, it didn't look like he didn't.
No, I know. So good for him, and good for you guys storming the field. And like you, I don't care if kids storm the field. Just don't give us shit when we storm the field. And then one guy was like, well, you did it against San Jose State. And you know what? Honest to God, Puck, and maybe you feel this way, maybe you don't. If you put San Jose State on a neutral field against Michigan, how good would that game be? It'd be a competitive game, wouldn't
it? Yes. Absolutely.
This year, not usually.
Absolutely.
San Jose State against Michigan usually is just going to get blown out. Spartans are going to get blown out.
I agree.
This year, that San Jose State team is pretty good.
I agree with you. My favorite moment of the weekend. We'll do weekend roundup a little bit later, but one of my favorite moments was on the sideline, and players do this all the time. Like Jonah Coleman's no different than any other player, but they got like a camera in Jonah Coleman's face after the game, like, no one believed in us, no one gave us a shot. And I'm thinking, you were favored in the game to win.
Everyone in Las Vegas kind of liked you. And
everybody
and those guys
in
in Vegas, that's the thing that gave me cause for pause, Puck, because I'm going,
Oh, yeah.
hey, Washington is favored for a reason.
Yep.
Because they're trying to get action on both sides. I understand that, but they're favored because they probably have a slightly better team than Michigan,
Sure.
and then they're also at home.
Yeah. Hey,
At the greatest setting in college football. Jesus Christ, I get sick of hearing that.
hey,
Don't you?
Say, it looked pretty
I mean,
nice.
it is beautiful. I like their
pretty,
stadium too. It is.
It looked pretty nice on TV, but
I know, but I'm sick of hearing it.
I know you are.
Greatest setting. Tony Castricone every week. Greatest setting in college football.
I'm going to say this because I was driving around. I miss Bob Rondo a lot.
Do you?
A lot.
Is that a shot at Tony Castricone?
Well, you take it for what it's worth. A lot.
Okay, I'm going to give Tony. I think Tony does a good job because I listened to him the Northwestern game. I think Cam Cleveland does a good job, but you don't want to follow. You can't follow a legend. You follow a legend in there. Now Chazanow, I mean, he was one of the exceptions, because Chazanow was really good. But
we've buried the lead. We've buried the lead.
What, the Seahawks?
I told you all last week it was going to be a trap game, and you didn't want to believe me.
Yeah. I sometimes feel like, like you're always giving me shit about my AirPods and I can't hear and all that. I don't think you listen to me. And, it cost you $100 by not listening to me. Because all I said all week was like, it's a sandwich game, classic trap game, letdown spot. Leonard Williams acknowledged that in Dugar's story in The Athletic. I think we might have underestimated them. You know why? Because it was a letdown spot, Leonard. And we all know that. Smart gamblers like me know that. Dumbass gamblers like Puck weren't aware of that and thought, they're going to mop the floor with the Giants.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't think it.
I got to gloat when I'm right because I'm not right very often.
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't think that it was. I really didn't think that it was going to be a trap game at all. I didn't see it.
Why?
Honestly, I
Why
don't.
Not?
Because
it's human nature.
Yes, but I just really thought that coming off the Monday night game in which they had plenty of opportunities to win, that they would just be, and it being a quick turnaround, would be hyper focused on the Giants, and that the fact that Singletary and Neighbors were out, that they would respond and they would bounce back. I just truly did not think it was going to be a letdown game. I believe in the letdown stuff when you win the game, and then like when you did it earlier this season after the Apple Cup with San Jose State, and I didn't believe you, but you were. Now that
what's it going to take for you to believe me?
Well, I think I believe you now. I just didn't think that would be the case this week. I really didn't think that they would have any letdown. I just got done on Friday praising Mike Macdonald about what a great first half, a great first month of the season, and how good they look, and they've passed all of these tests with flying colors. They're 3-1. They lead the division. They come out on Sunday with people are taking a great exception to this. It's one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a Seahawks defense. I mean, terrible. I mean, god awful. I think this trumps a lot of stuff I've seen in the last few years from Pete Carroll.
Well, the Detroit game, you could give them a pass on that one because they had so many guys out. Agreed. And Detroit, high-powered offense, too. Detroit playing at home Monday night, the atmosphere and everything there at Ford Field. But this one, yeah, you're right. I mean, they had players back that were hurt last week, and they were as bad as ever. I mean, it just was – they couldn't stop them. They just couldn't stop them.
Couldn't do anything. I mean, they were without two of their top playmakers. This was already, Jim, an offense that wasn't that good. And two of their top playmakers were out, and they just up and down the field. And then I hear these excuses from people saying, well, the offense didn't do many favors. It didn't matter what the offense did yesterday. This defense had no answer. None for Daniel Jones, some guy that I've never heard of in Tyrone Tracy. I've never heard of him. Most people
I
have
had to
never
look
heard
him up. A fifth round rookie from Purdue.
Yeah, Boilermakers. Go Boilermakers. Great drink, by the way. I like a good Boilermaker. Shot in your beer, boom. It's good.
What's in a Boilermaker?
It's just a shot of whiskey. You drop it in your beer.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Simple.
I should, as a Coug, I should know that.
No, that's okay if you don't. I mean, next time you go to your favorite bar there in Bend, which is
Cascade West.
Cascade West, get a Boilermaker.
Yeah, they make a good drink at Cascade West. They
Do
don't
they?
short you. It's a good pour every time.
A good 4-finger pour at Cascade West.
Kathy won $600 there the other night playing video poker. Have you ever seen anybody win $600 at a quarter machine video poker?
I have not.
I sat there the whole time just waiting for her to tap out, and she just kept winning. So it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, no, just look back at the Seahawks game. I look back to the Pittsburgh game last year, which that was abysmal. I mean, with what the Giants came in with and did not have. Well, I mean, I don't. Maybe it's recency bias. I don't know, but that was awful.
Yeah, you're not hearing anybody talk about Macdonald, the genius on defense after that one.
No,
it might have more to do with the Joes and the X's and O's.
Oh, thanks, Jimbo. Thanks, Walden. I'm like, X's and O's are Jimmy's and Joes.
Yeah, I think it probably helped the players that he had in Baltimore last year compared to the ones he has here in Seattle now. And now we'll see. I mean, Murphy not playing, and I mean, so there were some extenuating factors, but still, when you're at home against a banged up Giants team like that, and I've always kind of liked Daniel Jones. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. He's given the time. He's mobile. He can do some things out there. Slayton's a good receiver, but nowhere in the category of Neighbors. And when you get your first string running back out, you give it to a rookie, and he gets 129 yards.
Yeah. He had 129 yards and 18 carries. He came into the game on the season had 29 yards on 12 carries. It's just embarrassing. I don't know what the main problem is. I mean, I guess you can use the Byron Murphy, him not being there as an excuse, but if I recall, Byron Murphy was in New England, right? So because this is just not an isolated incident. Which I think a lot of people want to claim with this defense. And I know there was a lot of excuses on Monday because all these guys were out. Okay, fine. But when the first time they faced a real offense, they got obliterated. And that was Detroit. Okay, we want to use those guys were out. Fine, they were out. Well, this offense comes in here, and I mean, they don't have the playmakers that Detroit has. There's no Gibbs. There's no who's the other running back? Is it Montgomery? Who's the other running back? Yeah. They don't have a Montgomery. They don't have St. Brown, Goff. And I mean, maybe Goff and Jones are a wash. I don't know. But, I mean, they just did whatever they wanted. The screens, the running. I mean, those holes were massive. So that's a defensive line issue. That's Leonard Williams. Maybe he was putting too much into the game because he's facing his former team. But this goes back to the New England game. They were one-dimensional, and they rushed for 185 yards against them. And to me, that was I've thought of that game a lot. That was the red flag because Mike Macdonald was brought in here to change one thing, and that was, number one, the defense, but number two, part of the defense was stopping the run. And so far, boy, they have not been able to do that because this. Had Detroit wanted to run the ball more Monday night, they could have easily had over 200 yards on the ground. They just decided to throw the ball because Goff was on a heater.
Yeah, it's it was an odd one. I don't know. Maybe it's a one-off and you just hope it is, but I've gone from, I mean, Monday night after that Lions loss, you felt encouraged. We talked about it. I think everybody did that watches the Seahawks. It was encouraging. If a loss can be encouraging, that was encouraging. And then this one, you go from thinking, last week after the Lions loss, I thought, hey, who's better than the Seahawks in the NFC? And, you could say Minnesota if you wanted, but you kind of like their chances against Minnesota. It just seems like a hodgepodge of teams in the NFC that the Seahawks kind of match up well with. Mm-hmm. But now, after losing to the Giants like this, And you think about, well, if they lose to the 49ers, then you've got a game in Atlanta, and then you come home for Buffalo. Now you start looking at a team that you might be jockeying for, a top 10 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking about wild card playoff or winning the West.
Well, what also was concerning, I was just looking at some more highlights. What was also concerning is just the missed tackles.
Yeah.
Not tackling.
Well, we see a lot of those on Saturday. We didn't this Saturday because we didn't play.
Are you talking about us?
Yeah.
I thought you might have been talking about Interbay.
No. Oh, the Eagles. Does your team miss a lot of tackles too?
Yeah. Took one on the chin again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what'd you expect? Eastside Catholic? They're a juggernaut, man.
They are a juggernaut. They really are. They really are.
No, so they're probably. I mean, they look like what, an 8-9 team now.
Well, I think based on yesterday's game, yeah, that's what they look like based on that game. I mean, can they recover and still get to 9-10 wins? Of course they can. And we'll forget all about this if they come out on Thursday and beat the Niners, right? Because that's what we do. But think about how pivotal this game is already in the season. Because both of these teams are winless in the conference. So this stuff comes down to tiebreakers at the end of the year. One of these two teams, whoever loses on Thursday is screwed. Is absolutely screwed.
I kind of like the Seahawks Thursday night, though, don't you? Getting 3?
I do not.
You don't?
I don't, but I'm going to, you know what? You're kind of on a heater with me lately.
Well, yeah, you want to go another 100 on?
No, I do not. I do not.
Why?
Because I just don't want
you just said you don't like the Seahawks.
I do, but I don't like. I'm not.
Why don't you
confident.
put your money where your mouth is?
Well, because I'm running out of money. Because you just took $100. You just took $100 out of my wallet, and I just would like to say how quickly I get that $100 to people. I mean, that was within like 5 minutes of the game.
That was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Do you like my message on
I'm
Venmo?
Still waiting on the $25 for the Mateer Heisman bet. Haven't gotten that yet.
Oh, well.
Oh.
When he wins it, we'll get the winnings. Did you like my
He's
message?
not going to beat that Genty kid.
Oh, yes, he will.
Utah State got lucky that they kept him out in the second half. Why? He could have run for 400 yards.
He's unbelievable. He's so good. He's so good. Did you like my message on Venmo when I sent you the money?
Oh, you want me to repeat what you said? Yeah, sure. I told Kathy about it. Yeah, it wasn't that funny. You thought it was funny, though, didn't you?
Not funny, huh?
Well, yeah. Oh. You want me to tell the listeners what it was?
Well, if you want.
It seemed like you were a poor sport about losing $100. So reason on Venmo for why I'm getting $100, herpes medication.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kathy just gave you a courtesy laugh. I don't think anyone else out in your listening audience is laughing right now. They probably were thinking, well, that's fucking stupid. Herpes medication.
Can you by the way, have a laugh? Am I allowed to have a laugh?
Well, you can laugh at yourself. Yeah, it's fun to laugh at yourself. Herpes medication, by the way, is a lot more than $100. Okay. So
wow, that's somebody that has herpes still, huh? Well, I guess you never get rid of it. That's right. Because once you got herpes, you have it for life. Correct?
Yeah, that's true.
So how's that go for you? Is there a problem?
So can you work orgy into there too?
Yeah. Did you get herpes from an orgy?
Did not, unfortunately.
Yeah, because if you're gonna get herpes, let's just get it from an orgy, right?
Yeah. So when you were typing that in, were you just like
just real funny, and it's not funny, I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's people in your listening audience right now that have herpes, and you think they think it's funny? God, you're speechless. Come on, man. I'm just giving you shit. You gotta have a comeback from that.
I think so. I think they've got to look at themselves in the mirror and go, why did I put myself in that position to get it in the first place?
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Like all of us haven't been in that position.
I have not been in that position to get it. So I have not been in that position.
You have.
Is there a little bit of shine off our Grubby? Oh, Grubby. Hey, it's Jen. I saw you took one on the chin last night. Sorry. Maybe I can fly up there and help you out.
God, I miss her.
Have you seen her lately, by the way?
No. What does she look like?
Well, I think she's got herself on that Ozempic.
Oh, is she? Oh,
Yeah.
she lost some weight.
She is
Getting tan down there.
She has tapped into the LA lifestyle, my friend.
You still picture her smoking the ciggies?
I sure do. I think she's guaranteed she's back on the heaters.
Yeah.
Suppresses the appetite.
You think she's getting tired of Lincoln Riley?
Soon, and he'll be fired soon, probably. Did you see his stupid press conference again this weekend? Just fucking stupid. Someone asked him about, there was a play at the end, the Minnesota game.
A player was asked about.
The player was asked, did you think he got in? And Lincoln Riley's like, that's a stupid question. Why would he have to answer that? Why do we care what he thinks? He played in the game. He was on defense. Does he think he got in? I mean, Lincoln Riley is one of the more insecure head coaches in college football. And frankly, I mean, really not that good anyways. I mean, hasn't been good at USC.
God, he got a huge contract from them, though.
Oh, God. Yeah, I think she didn't hire him. I think she'll replace him in a second. When Kalen DeBoer flames out and loses one more game and Alabama runs him out of town, he'll go to USC.
Yeah. I just want her to be front and center, whether it's in LA or Seattle, wherever, Tacoma, just so you can continue to do impressions of her.
Well,
because I miss that.
Her. I love her deeply. I really do.
But you got in trouble at KJR, didn't you, for impersonating her? Didn't someone tell you to stop doing it?
Yeah, but it was, yes.
And why do you think they did that?
Because we were the flagship of the school.
And you thought it was like unnecessarily mocking her? Is that what they were thinking?
I think they thought we were mocking the way she sounded. It was to me, this is more of a love affair with her that I really, truly love her.
So her voice does it for you too? Like you like the gravelly voice?
Yes, the whole thing.
You ask Kaisa to talk like that, when you're role playing?
I asked her to dress up as Jen Cohen for Halloween.
Get the scarlet and gold and get the white horse.
All night long, I just asked her to go dun 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 dun. Do it again. Dun 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 dun. One more time.
Does she ever say, "Are you thinking about me or are you thinking about Jen?" That would probably spoil the moment. Have you ever done that?
Just say Jimmy Lake right now in a gravelly voice.
Jimmy Lake, what a raw deal he got. Christ almighty. If they had been unbeaten, if that happened, it'd been like, you just kind of touched the player, But it's like, God, we're going nowhere with this guy. We have a horseshit record. We got an excuse to get rid of him.
Yeah. He did get it. He did get a raw deal. Where is he at? Is he at Atlanta?
I don't know. He's in the NFL. Is he with the Rams? He might be with the Rams. I don't know where he is.
I think it's Atlanta. I think he's at Atlanta.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But no, you're right about Ryan Grubb. I'll help you bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back to Ryan Grubb. We were getting sidetracked.
Well, it's kind of strange, isn't it? Because he was getting all kinds of credit. I think it was after the Broncos game where at halftime they hadn't run the ball much in the first half, and second half they did. And, they didn't have many plays in the first half, so he couldn't really run the ball much anyway. But it was odd when you got guys like Walker and Charbonnet and a pass rush like the Giants had. You think they maybe would try and offset that with better balance? But
I don't understand the thinking. Like how does Ken Walker get 2 carries in the first half? Like I know they didn't run a lot of plays anyways, but but you've got to feature him. And there was a series in the third quarter. I mean, he only gets 3 more carries. It's a 10-10 game. Like, what are we doing? And that's what I just could not understand from him.
Well,
and this is not like
at that point you talked about it. You couldn't stop the Giants. You might want to try ball control yourselves to keep the ball away from Danny Dimes and Tyrone Tracy Jr.
100%, right? Yeah, give your defense some rest, but you come out and you're just throwing on every down. This is the most mind-boggling stat. And Curtis gave this to me. Just full disclosure, Curtis and Tim and I on the new Ground Puck podcast where we talk all things Seahawks. We recorded this last night after the game because Tim's got Tim's his first day on his new job at the Seattle Times. So Tim had a bunch of HR stuff today, so he couldn't do it at his regular time. So we recorded it last night, and they dropped back. They had 58 plays yesterday, Jim. 58 plays on offense for the Seahawks. They dropped back to pass on 51 of them. That's just unbelievable.
7 running attempts. Well, they've been, Pete always stressed the running game too, and then there were more passes, but it's a crazy what's the word I'm looking for? The ratio of what they're doing pass to run. Not just this game, but the whole season so far. And you've talked about it with Grubb. Everybody has. Like everybody thought, Washington with Penix and Odunze and all these guys, they're airing it out all the time. Well, they had Dylan Johnson too that they were handing it off to a good majority of the time. But no, it's tough though. I mean, I'm not going to give Ryan Grubb a hard time for that. He's finding his way. It's still early in his career as a professional coach, so I think he'll get it figured out.
I mean, yes. I mean, I agree. I agree with you on all that. And it's not like he's not a guy that is opposed to running the football. I mean, I know what we saw in the last couple of years, at Washington, they were able to throw the ball a little bit more. You go back to his time at Fresno State. I mean, they like to run the football. He's a guy who likes to run the football. I don't know why he went into this game plan, especially against a defense that they should be able to run the ball against and not try to run the ball. Not at all.
Well, I was also thinking about, hey, we've got a running back who in the Detroit game, you remember that play when
the second half
he did a somersault and kept going? He was tackled but wasn't to the ground and then did this backflip and continued for more yardage. He's that athletic. We should probably continue to try and give him opportunities to help our offense. And the other thing, and I know they have access to all kinds of new age stats, but the one that I saw, the Giants coming into the game, they allowed 4.7 yards per carry through their first 4 games.
Right.
And so you just look at that, and that's just, me down in Bend, Oregon, Googling Giants defense or whatever, or reading somebody's story and lifting that stat. And I'm going, that's nearly 5 yards a carry.
They should have pounded the ball down their throats. But yet they come out and just wanting to pass it all over the place. I just thought that was again, he's not going to be perfect, but that was an odd strategy. But then I also think we got to be fair here because we would come down on Pete Carroll on this all the time when it came to Shane Waldron. That's also criticism of Mike Macdonald. I mean, these plays go through his headset. The game plan goes, he puts the game plan together. He's the head coach. And like 2 straight weeks, he's talked about wanting to run the ball more and be more physical. And we got to get Ken Walker involved. You're the head coach. It's your call. You get in the headset. Hey, Grubby, run the ball now. That's all you got to do.
I don't know why I laugh at that every time, but I do.
I don't know, but it really does get you.
Okay. How about this? You can have a bad game as an offensive coordinator too, right? I mean, it's just like one of the players. And so that wasn't his best game. I'm sure he went home going, God, I got to figure out what to do against the Niners here. That's a little different than what I've been doing. I read Condotta's report card every week. I always enjoy that. He gave Mike Macdonald a D. And you can makes sense, doesn't it? Giving him a D. He didn't pass.
Yeah,
that wasn't
I've got some issues with a couple of the grades from Condotta, but yes, the D. Yes, no, that's coaching.
So what grades did you not like?
Oh, the linebackers. I don't get the Baker and Dodson love affair from some. I don't think they're good at all. Sorry, I don't think they're good.
Well, what do you think they are?
Average, below average,
linebackers, players.
Yeah.
But do you miss Bobby?
No, but they haven't. No, I do not. But they haven't replaced him. I mean, they didn't even really feel confident in these two They didn't get 1-year deals. They're stopgaps.
Yeah.
So, in the D line, I mean, it was terrible yesterday. Maybe it was the Murphy factor, and I know others have cited, well, Mafe wasn't there. Well, Mafe, I mean, that's not so much helping in the passing game. Mafe is going to help you more Mafe is going to help you more in the passing game. Getting after the quarterback more is going to help you in the run game.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Trey Brown yet.
Oh, he was rough. Yeah, that was a rough game for Trey Brown. He was I mean, they went after him nonstop. Didn't matter what they did. That's the other thing too. Like, once you see that, doesn't that come to coaching? Like, don't you do something different? Switch them. I don't know. Hide them somehow, some way. I mean, they probably were trying to, but I guess give credit to old Dayball of just keep finding him and go after him left and right. Yeah, that was a struggle for Brown.
Did you think that was poor form or reasonable for him to tweet after the game the way he did?
What did he say? Hey,
he said,
"Stop hating on me." Oh, you waited 4 years to come down on me.
Yeah, y'all waited 4 years for me to have a bad game. You know, dogs have their day too. The bounce back will be even greater. Stay on that side. I don't think the one thing, I mean, he can say whatever he wants on Twitter. That's fair game. But I don't think anybody's been sitting around going, I mean, I don't know. Do you watch Seahawks games like 3 years ago? Were you sitting there thinking, man, I hope Trey Brown has a bad game today?
No, that's why I didn't understand where that came from, because I don't remember the Trey Brown hate. I don't know. Maybe you and I.
Trey Brown's a good story, isn't he? I mean, he's persevered, gone through some injuries, and come out the other side. And so
maybe you and I are not in the Seahawks weeds of like the internet and chat rooms. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm not, but I don't know of any Trey Brown slander to wait 4 years to come out. Oh, well, you know what? I've been waiting for this moment. F you, Trey Brown.
I know.
That's not what I was thinking after the game. I just thought he wasn't good. No one was good. There wasn't a single player on that team yesterday. Not one player that was good. Not one.
Yeah.
That's all phases. There wasn't one player. Maybe Jenkins, right? I'll give him.
The Jenkins fumble return. Did you think the Giants scored?
Well, it's too hard to tell. They never really gave you a good angle whether he did or not. So yeah, I credit him for hustling, being the only guy on the field that picked up the ball and ran and actually paid attention to what was going on. So good on him. So he played okay.
At that point, you figured, okay, well, the Seahawks are going to go on from here. That's going to be how often. I'll have to go back and look, or hopefully somebody else will do it, so I won't have to. But how often do you get a fumble return for 100 yards and lose in that game? I would think that's such a lift. That's a 14-point swing.
I had the text crafted to you right after that play, going, "Oh, real trap game now. Now we're gonna blow them out," because I really thought that was gonna happen. Oh, it's cute. The Giants went down there. They all this momentum, and they're playing loose and free, and the no care in the world. But now Seattle, after they stopped them, they're going to get, they got that touchdown. They'll get them another 3 and out. They'll wipe them out now. And
there was just so many weird things in that game. The Geno slide short of the first down, and then also they had a full yard to go there on the 35-yard line or whatever it was. Did they just? I mean, what was that all about? Do you think they felt like, geez, we don't want to give it back to the Giants because we haven't been able to stop them all day?
Yeah.
Did that enter into it?
I think that's exactly it. I think Mike Macdonald's like, we can't stop them, so we need to go for it. I don't mind the call or the decision, and I don't mind the call. I know like the call is getting kind of criticized. I think the guy for the Giants made an incredible play. They just beat him. Just beat him. That was it.
He's a hell of a player. You got to account for him, don't you? I mean, he's unblocked. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see. We talked about this guy. We saw him in the film room, and, we talked about him pregame. And, yeah, you probably want to at least account for him. And, if somebody else beat you, that's all right. But
how about the play? How about the play, though, on the block kick? The block field goal. God, that was a hell of, I have it here somewhere. I want to watch it again, but that was a hell of an effort by Simmons. Jeez.
Well, you got to give the Giants coaching staff some credit for that one, because for all the world, it looked like an illegal play to me.
Sure did.
I mean,
And the fact
And
is
then
they put it in
they
this
knew
week.
the rules. They knew the rules, and the NFL officials did too. Clearly, everybody called it a good play. So,
Hey,
and now everybody's going to be trying that.
well, yeah, it's a copycat league. Everyone's going to be doing it this week. Hell, the Seahawks probably do it on Thursday against the Niners. Here, I'm going to play it. I want you to watch specifically for it, not so much Simmons when he jumps over. I want you to watch what he does to Jason Myers after he blocks it. Watch him. Boom. Come on. Watch it again. Watch him just nail Myers. Hold on. Watch him. Boom. Hey, Myers. Watch. Boom. I just can't stop watching it. Boom. Boom. I don't know why I love kickers getting their asses handed to them, but God, I want to watch it again. Watch Myers.
Hey, we shouldn't laugh too hard about that. God, do you remember that?
God, he got blown up.
I took all kinds of heat for laughing at John Ryan. Was it that Thursday night game against the Rams when he took off out of punt formation and then just got flattened at the end of it?
Why did you take shit for it?
Because that wasn't cool. Ryan was hurt on the play, and how can you laugh about somebody when they're hurt? And it was just like, but I mean, that play was comical, wasn't it? When Ryan just got flattened, it was almost like, the player that hit him was like, "Hey man, you're a punter. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to lay you out here, and whatever the consequences are, ramifications."
Can't we laugh a little bit? God. Thought it was funny.
I think Ryan's wife gave me shit about it. The comedian gal.
Oh, really?
Twitter.
A comedian's
You think it's
upset?
funny? You think it's funny that he got hurt?
Oh, that's
I
pretty
don't think
rich.
it's funny that he got hurt.
Pretty rich of a comedian to come down on somebody else trying to laugh at something. Good Lord. Come on.
No, that was funny, though. Ryan getting hit like
was
that
funny.
was funny. And that was funny what Myers, it just took a little shoulder there.
It did. I thought it was illegal, but they come out. Walt Anderson comes out and says no, it wasn't illegal. I wonder if they'll do something different. It did. I watched it a couple times. You can see it again on there and I apologize for those listening. You're like, because there was no sound. You're like, well, that was fun. That was great job of you guys of playing that clip with no sound. I do think the defender for the Giants got the snapper on the head neck area. I don't know. It's really close where he pushes him down, but
yeah, because you can't be around the head or neck area. You can be anywhere else.
Yeah, you can put it on his back, or like you push him on his back, but it looked real close to his head neck. I don't know. I mean, it's a heck of a play, though. I mean, the fact is they pushed Lakeland, Tomlinson. He's already going down. That was kind of what they're going to do for the block, and then he gets shoved down, and then it makes lets the defender just make it an incredible athletic play to jump over that. And the fact is they put it in this week. He had never been on kick block before, and then makes that play.
Yeah, and then at such a crucial moment in the game, because that's a game the Seahawks shouldn't have won, and they probably would have in overtime because they would have had all kinds of momentum.
Yeah.
If they win the coin flip.
Hold on, and remind me, and I should know this now. Did they ever use, because if it goes to overtime and the Seahawks would score, they don't kick the extra point anymore. Did they ever kick the extra point? Was there ever a time that they did? They never did?
Well, as soon as I say never, there'll be somebody that'll say, hey, wait a minute, 93, they used to do it like that.
I just want to make sure, because I was like, oh, they're going to overtime, they score, maybe I'll get a push. But then you're like, no, because it's 7. You're like, oh, that's right. But I thought
I wanted to text back and say, no, you dumbass. You can't get 7 points in overtime.
I thought there was a time in which they actually did kick the extra point. I think, with the gambling nowadays, they should kick the extra point.
Why?
Because there's millions of dollars on the line.
It's game over, though. It's game over when
point. It affects you. Always kick the extra point on a touchdown. So if you score in overtime, they should still kick the extra point. It affects the line. And
you're saying that because you had the Seahawks given 7. But
of course, that's why I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Duh.
Well, how about just take that out of the equation? Do you still feel that way?
No, but that's what affected me.
I still don't like the outcome of a coin flip having that big of an impact. And, people will say,
well, what would you
do? Just stop them on defense then. Well, you know what? sometimes it's just difficult to do that. The other team should get a chance.
Well, what would you do? You just whoever had the ball last, they don't get it.
Well, if the
other
first team scores 6, and then at that point, if you give the other team the ball, you let the team that scored to go for the extra point. But the other team should get a chance.
I like college football. I just don't know why we make this so hard. I don't know why we just don't do the college football overtime.
I like
fun.
it too.
It's exciting.
I'm kind of lost on college football. Like, so the first 2 times you're trying to score from the 25.
Yeah.
And then the third time, that's when you have to go for 2 and you just go from the 2-point conversion line.
It's the second time you got to go for 2 now.
But you start at the 25 the second time.
Yes,
but third time you just start at the 3.
Third time you just going for 2. It's like 2-point conversions. Yeah.
I miss the days when it would be like 65, 62 at the end, and they just went from the 25 every time and just kept going. I like that.
All right, let's we got about 10, 15 more minutes before we do the Ground Puck podcast with Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree, our little weekend roundup. I told you the Interbay Eagles took one on the chin again. We're looking for our first win. Took one on again. We just can't solve Eastside Catholic, and thankfully it's the last time I've got to drive over there, because we've had to drive over there 3 times. I don't know why Eastside Catholic can't ever come over here to play us, but that's the way it is. But I'm glad
you don't like going to the Sammamish. You're not into the Sammamish Plateau at all.
When it takes me an hour and 15 minutes every time. No, I'm kind of over driving over there.
Yeah.
I don't know why they can't come over to us, but apparently they
can't.
Can't.
They should. So what's your record now? 0-4?
0-5.
What do you have? 2 or 3 more games?
I think we have 1 more game left, and then I think everyone makes the playoffs. So yeah. Well, we got a victory this week. I'm not sure who we're playing, but
Oh, you don't know who you're playing?
I can look real quick here for the Eagles. We'll be big underdogs, but you know what? Sometimes a wounded animal is a dangerous animal.
Okay, you believe whatever you want to believe.
Hey, we're playing Cedar Park. Ooh,
you've already played them.
I know. We play all these things. There's only 4 teams in our league. We play them all. But I promised the kids, because we were light on numbers and we wanted to make sure, hey, if we got down big, we wanted to keep them in the game, right? Don't get down on. We want them to have fun more than anything, just have fun. And so I was like, all right, if we've been doing a good job of forcing turnovers, I said, if you guys get 2 turnovers, Dick's cheeseburgers for everyone. Next practice, they got 2 turnovers in the first 2 series.
Did they?
Yes.
We'll start doing that every game then.
Well, that's going to be costly, my friend. 20 cheeseburgers at Dick's now. It's not the same prices anymore when you were a
deluxes
kid.
or
no, just a Dick's cheeseburger, but it's not cheap anymore.
Well, God, don't be a tight ass. A Dick's cheeseburger.
I'm buying them, moron. I'm just saying that they're not as cheap anymore.
I know they're not as cheap anymore, but still, what's the total on 20 Dick's cheeseburgers? Like $40? $50?
No, hold on. Hold on. Let me just check this here. I don't think they're that. How much are they now? Oh,
$2.50. They're probably higher than that.
Feels like they're higher than that.
God, there's so many places now that charge $15, $20, $25 for burgers.
$3.05.
Okay, so 20 of those. Okay, so $60. Okay.
Adding up. I mean, a deluxe now is $5.30. Jeez.
Well, how about would it be cheap? Well, how about like ice cream cones? I don't know, but bribe them with something.
Cheeseburgers. That's what we're doing.
Bribe them with something.
That. How was your weekend? What was your weekend roundup like?
My weekend, I didn't do a whole hell of a lot. Played golf at Crooked River Ranch. Have you ever played there? That place is awesome.
Crooked River Ranch. I do. Is that by the Redmond Airport?
No, that's Juniper. Juniper's really nice too.
Yeah, I like Juniper.
But
my buddy has
River
a golf
Ranch,
club
you got
still
great
stuck
views.
Up in the trees.
You got great views there, and it's kind of a Western themed place. And anyway, it's real nice. The one takeaway though that I had, since you told me about this weekend roundup that you were going to have, how about Friday night? Michigan State against Oregon in Eugene, and Jonathan Smith choosing to go for a field goal when they were down 24 points.
Is perfect this year. 8 for 8.
Read my mind.
This field goal is good. There is a marker down.
And even more interested parties in that marker.
See, Brock understood the gambling line. Good job, Brock.
10.
Running to the kicker. Defense. That penalty's declined.
That's the best part.
The field goal's good.
That's the best part. He declined it.
Well, how many yards did they have to go when it's running into the kicker?
I mean, it's in the.
No,
15.
you'd think though. I mean, in any other instance, a coach would have been like, "Hey, we're down 31-7. Let's just, look better if we lost 31-14."
He knew the line.
He knew the line.
100% knew the line.
23, and I would say that every single coach should know what the line is in the game. You can use it as motivation for your troops. Like Smith could have said to his kids, "Hey, look, man, people are thinking we're going to lose by more than 3 touchdowns. Can you believe that?" And for the boosters that are betting on your team, you should be trying to cover that spread if you're not going to win the game. So Jonathan Smith,
he's our coach of the week.
Coach of the week.
Coach of the week.
The Vanderbilt coach. I mean, good job by him too.
Yeah, but it's the best coaching. Like I don't know who does it. Is it Herb Street or somebody does like I think it's Herb Street does his top coaching moments of the weekend, top 10 coaches of the week. I think it's Herb Street does it. He better mention Jonathan Smith for knowing the line that it was 21.5, and he sent his field goal kicker out to make it 21.
Yeah, no, that was. I think everybody I was only $10 on the Spartans, but I was happy to see that ball go through the uprights.
Do you think it's a little bit of a red flag among people who might monitor this type of stuff? Like if there was a governing body that looked at the NCAA and gambling, you think they would call up Jonathan Smith and be like, just want to talk about what your decision there on Friday, coach? Because think about it. Hold on. Think about it. Because this whole Pete Rose thing and gambling and all this other stuff. Coaches can manipulate. Coaches can have people put money on a game. And if he was able to wash it, make you remove it from a third or fourth party, put some money on the game. Remember, I think we had him on our show. Canzano, and he told us, or he told me, the last maybe 2 Civil Wars ago, or not this past year, but maybe last year, that Jonathan Smith walked up to Canzano before the game and asked him why the line changed. And that was when Dillingham was leaving Oregon to take ASU.
Yeah.
So he knows the gambling line. So I'm just saying, if there was a governing body that was looking at this stuff, do you think they would give him a call and be like, "Hey, coach, just curious, why'd you kick it there?"
What do you think he'd say?
Oh, I just wanted to give our kicker some reps. We thought that we wanted to end the game on a positive note, and we thought he'd kind of struggling a little bit with some confidence, and we wanted to put it through the uprights, which is all a lot.
Or, that got us within 3 scores, and but coach, there was only like 40 seconds left. I mean, what are the chances?
He knew the line. What if it came out that he had, like his cousin is putting money on the game?
Yeah, maybe. But no, I mean, Jonathan Smith, that's a good move on his part, because I'm sure at this point he's thinking, God, what am I doing? Why did I go to East Lansing? This was a bad move on my part. Michigan State is known for being better than what they are this year.
Well,
I'm sure he's already taken heat. He's I don't know if he's on the hot seat yet, but it's got to be warming up. And so he probably thought, hey, you know what? I could gain some favor here by covering the spread at least.
He could have been the head coach at UCLA. He could have been the head coach at Washington if he'd just been patient and waited and stayed on the West Coast. Instead, he overreacted and took a job at Michigan State.
Yeah. No, he blew it. Just absolutely blew it.
How about our guy Kalen DeBoer, huh? I mean, I didn't see the clip. I just saw, I was on ESPN.com and I just saw like the video clip, like the headline where Stephen A. Smith, "You are no Nick Saban."
Is that what he's already saying that?
Oh, I have not tuned in yet. This might be the day. I don't even know when Paul Feinbaum's show airs, but this is going to be the day later today. I'm going to go back, find it, some podcast or some replay of his show, because all he does is take phone calls anyways. And I want to just listen. And I'm going to find the Alabama postgame show too. I just want to listen to the people who already probably want him out of town.
Yeah, I don't think Saban didn't lose to Vanderbilt. God, I love that Vanderbilt quarterback after the game. Drops an F-bomb, and he was just so damn excited.
And then thanking Jesus.
Yeah. And then what happened afterwards with the goalpost going down Broadway in Nashville and ended up in the Cumberland River. And Reminded me of 82 when we beat the Dogs.
That's right.
Goalpost came down. They went into the Palouse River. Yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah. How about our guy? And I mean, he did it again. I cannot believe Miami came back and beat Cal. Just can't believe it. I'm watching that game, and I'm kind of nodding off when it was like 25. And I'm kind of like, yeah, they scored again. Oh, and now it's 17 or it's 18. And they scored again. And then when he ran in for the touchdown to get within 7, I'm like, oh my God. I can't believe it. I cannot believe Cal just collapsed in that game.
Well, Cal being known for their defense too. And, to have a 20-point lead, I think they led by 20 with like 9 minutes to go.
Well, it was 25.
And then I never did see that. I was in the other room watching Texas Tech and Arizona, and Kathy was in the living room, watching the Cal game. And I thought, and I had Cal and Texas Tech on the money line in a parlay that I would have won $150. Nobody gives a shit about that, but I do. And so I thought Cal had it in the bag. And then Texas Tech, when they won, I'm going, okay, I got this. And then for Cam, you jinxed it, man. I mean, you don't think Cam Ward's a winner, and he proved you wrong. Am I right? Or am I wrong again?
I mean, Cal's defense helped him out.
You've never been a big. You've never liked Cam Ward.
I don't like him at all. But I don't think it wasn't
like. Could you call him a winner now?
I guess he can. He threw for 270 yards in the fourth quarter. I mean, a lot of it was Cal just playing prevent defense. I mean, the one big play that got him down there was absolute broken coverage.
Yeah, and so what happened with the brilliant Justin Wilcox and the defense? Don't you think a Justin Wilcox-led defense would have had a big enough cushion
for 3 quarters? They just shut him out. They shut him down for 3 quarters. And he was the Cam Ward that we saw at Washington State, when you get a little pressure in his face, he backtracks and then throws terrible passes. And he did it like on that pick 6 where he rolls to his right and then throws back across his body, and it's a pick 6. I don't know what happened to Cal after that. I don't know how they couldn't close it out. And here's the other thing I don't understand about Cal. And I woke up early and watched game day. Why can't Cal athletics be like this every week? I don't know if you've ever been there.
They had a great turnout, didn't they, for game day?
It's great. First of all, it's one of the most beautiful campuses you'll ever step foot on. It's gorgeous. The football stadium is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. We were there 2 years ago, went up to Tightwad Hill, the views. They've got around the stadium, they have beer and wine in there. They've got like every local craft brewery from the Bay Area and all these wineries from up north. They're all in there. It's spectacular, Jim. It's one of the best environments possible that you could possibly have in college football. But the fact is, no one ever goes there. They don't go to the games. But they did on Saturday. And I'm just thinking, I'm not sure why it can't be like that every week. Because when it is like that every week, it's awesome. And Lynch was great. Marshawn was great. He didn't swear. He didn't do anything. I can't believe he didn't swear, by the way.
No, I know. And same thing at Stanford, though, Puck. I mean, they're even worse than Cal. They get nobody showing up for those games.
Oh, did you see some of the images of their Virginia Tech game?
Yeah.
There was like 100 people there.
It looked like it was a game at Memorial Stadium between Ballard and West Seattle or something.
It was shout out. Yeah, there we go. Shout out Beavs. Looking for another win this week as they take on the Panthers of Seattle.
You know what really bothered me? Sorry to interrupt your update on your winless team there. Or no, you're talking about the high school team.
Yeah, they've won a game.
Have they won a game?
Yes.
Okay. What really bothered me though Saturday night, do you care? What bothered me was watching those games, like the Cal game at Berkeley and then the Arizona game in Tucson. And I know Arizona was playing Texas Tech and Cal was playing Miami, but I just watched those games going, hey man, this is Pac-12 after dark time. Yeah. This isn't, I don't want Miami as the opponent here. I want, ASU or somebody like that. And I still can't get over it, Puck. I just can't get over it. It just bothers the hell out of me. Like watching Arizona, and I'm thinking about, all the games that we played down in Tucson and played in Berkeley, and now these interlopers are coming in, Miami, and it's just the whole thing. Washington playing Michigan and then going back to Iowa and this week, and it bugs me still. It still does, and I don't know if I'll ever get over it.
Well, you never got. I agree with you. You never got to the point of you missed it. I mean, the ACC helped them out immensely in that game. By the way, getting back to Cal Miami, one, they missed the targeting penalty, a clear targeting. That would have given them a first down and the game's over. So they missed that. And then on the game-winning touchdown, which Cam threw the little side pass where the guy got in, they had 2 offensive linemen in the end zone. That's a penalty. They're 5 yards. They're like 10 yards downfield. So they missed those.
So is there some thought that they wanted Miami to win to keep their ranking unbeaten? Maybe. Cam Ward, Heisman.
I don't know, but the Heisman thing, you brought him up earlier. It's the other thing here on Weekend Roundup that I was thinking of, Ashton Jeanty. A lot of this is about Jeanty, just of the incredible season he's had. But I want to highlight actually the season that Barry Sanders had more. So Jeanty, there's all this talk that he may be able to catch Barry Sanders' single season rushing record, which he set back in 1988, 2,628 yards. Okay. Jeanty is at 1,031 yards right now through 5 games. He has 16 touchdowns. He's averaging 11 yards a carry. Here's the deal, though, with Sanders. Sanders did it in 11 games. He played in a bowl game. They didn't count the bowl game. So for Jeanty, in 11 games to get to where Barry Sanders did, he has to average 265 yards for the next 6 games. For 7 games for the regular season, he can average 227 yards. So this is more about Jeanty's incredible and it's awesome, but Barry Sanders in 1988 is the most incredible, maybe single season in any sport in the history of sports. What he did.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I figured Jeanty was on some sort of record pace, but the way you laid it out there, he's not going to get there, especially
not going to get him.
Well, and then they rested him as I mentioned, in the second half of that Utah State game, so they can't be resting him the rest of the way. But no, they got a hell of a team, and we haven't even covered the fact that you texted me today and said that Texas Tech and Washington got votes in the poll this week, and we didn't, and we beat both those teams.
So in the AP, the Cougars are ahead of Texas Tech and Washington in the AP.
They are, okay.
In the AP, in the coaches poll, which I don't know if anyone pays attention to the coaches poll anymore, but I think about this because it's something Dickert told me a couple of weeks ago when he visited with us. He made a little comment that the coaches don't want the Cougs to do well. And I don't know why that would be the case, but there's some animosity between the coaches and the Cougs, but I don't know. But they didn't receive a single vote in the coaches poll this week. Yet Texas Tech and Washington did. That makes 0 sense, guys. Like 0.
Yeah. Well, we beat both those teams.
Well, thank you.
And we only have one. We have one loss to a Boise State team that appears to be pretty good.
And they had Boise State ranked too low. In the coaches poll. So I don't know. Maybe no one cares about the coaches poll anymore, but that's it. So,
yeah.
All right. We'll let you go. What's on tap for you today, sir?
We're going on a little hike out there on the Deschutes River. We're going to go to Dillon Falls and Benham Falls. And
beautiful.
Yeah. And then try and find another place to live. We still don't have another place to go to.
Well,
we need to be out by this weekend.
Well, good luck with finding a new place to live. And if you see someone sleeping in the cars, that's the Moore family.
Yeah, that could be. Thanks for having me, Puck. It's good to see you, man. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. See you, bud.
All right. Take care.
There he is, Jim Moore, the go-to guy, joining us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on Puck Sports. And we appreciate him sticking by. All right. We were able to catch up with Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree yesterday after the game. And to get their thoughts and reaction to the Seahawks game. We had to record it yesterday because Tim had some obligations. Tim is now working for the Seattle Times. He couldn't do it today at his regular time. So he said, you know what? Let's sneak you on after the game. So we recorded this last night, and we had to rename the show because there was somebody else had Hawks Nest, and that's fine. So we renamed it. And I think it's for the best because we call it now the Ground Puck Podcast in honor of the greatest head coach in Seahawks football history, that being Chuck Knox. I love Chuck Knox. He's my favorite. And I know people, what about Pete Carroll? Fine, you have your Pete Carroll. I want Chuck Knox. So, without further ado, of course, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Ground Puck with Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree reacting to the Seahawks loss against the New York Giants. Fox 13, Tim Booth, for the first time, we could say Tim Booth is here with the Seattle Times, although he covered the game, the Seahawks loss, as his last assignment as an Associated Press writer. But he's joining us on Monday as the new reporter for the Seattle Times. And what are we covering? Are we just we're a Seattle Times reporter, or are we just covering all of it?
For right now, it's probably going to be kind of similar to what I was already doing, maybe just a little bit less, but some hockey, we got an NBA exhibition game here this Friday, so that's going to draw a fair amount of attention being around that. And then I think I probably will be back out at Lumen Field Thursday night for the Seahawks game. So not, at least to start off with, not much different than what I was already doing.
Oh, good. Way to make that transition to a new role that was going to be less stressful. Jesus. All right, so we have to change the name of the show because I got a couple of people alerting me, hey, there's another Seahawks show out there, and this is not specifically a Seahawks show. We're doing like an old school radio show. We just have a segment talking Seahawks. But the guy was like, hey, you're stealing this guy's bit, the Hawks Nest, and I'm like, I didn't do that intentionally. I had no idea. So my apologies out there. I just was thinking of a title of the show and thought, well, where were my first season tickets? Like when I had, right when the stadium opened up. Well, it was Hawks Nest. And I love the Hawks Nest. It was a great place to watch a game. It was wonderful. And I still believe it's like the best seats in that whole stadium. So that's why I went with the name. But then someone said, oh, well, you should probably – well, no one said you should change it. I just thought, well, if there's something else out there, I don't want to cause any friction. So me and some buddies put our heads together. And I just think we came up with a great one. I mean, it really, really is. And it's so good, Tim Booth, because you'll appreciate this. Curtis is too young to really appreciate it. It's so good that I had to even find an open for it.
Prepare well, your team is probably going to play well. You're not always going to win, but they're going to play hard. They're going to go out there and
they are, Chuck.
Performance. You can live with that. Today we're going to talk about our next opponent.
Best head coach in Seahawks history, Curtis Crabtree. So it's the Ground Puck podcast with Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree because legendary Chuck Knox, Ground Chuck, that's all they would do, would run the football. Something Ryan Grubb could have done today, Tim. Run the football. It's okay to run the football. These two are brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated by two diehard Huskies, Manny and Roger. They've been pouring the best local craft beer for the past 23 years. Manny's Pale Ale. They got Lucille. They got Rogers, Bodhisattva. They just got everything. There at Georgetown Brewery. Tap room is open every day, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. GeorgetownBeer.com. Tim, let's start there. What the hell happened? Well, what was that? And especially for someone who had the Seahawks -7, not a good day.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't if you had them -7. I understand the worries about the balance on offense and the fact that it was so pass heavy and that the run game never tried to even get established in the first half or even really the second half. Like Ken Walker needs to have more than 5 running plays in a game for you to be successful offensively. But what the hell was going on with the defense? And for them to get gashed the way they were especially in the run, New York was the 32nd ranked team in the league in average yards per carry coming into today. And they ran for 175 yards on the ground. They averaged 5.1 yards per carry. They were averaging 3.4 coming into the game. Like the way that game got controlled by what the Giants did on offense dictated what happened. And I think that led to Seattle being so pass heavy. But this one, as much as you can easily criticize the way the game was called and the way some of the offense functioned today, to me, this one's squarely on the defense and their inability to get stops, to get the Giants in tough down and distance positions, and to allow a really mediocre offense to do what it did to that defense today.
Yeah, Curtis, I mean, your thoughts. I mean, what you watched, that was just one of the most horrendous defensive performances I've seen in a Seahawks team for quite some time. I mean, there's been some bad ones, but that ranks right up there.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you don't have Devin Singletary or Malik Neighbors even in the lineup for them, I mean, Darius Slayton's the most high-profile name that was on the field in that game. That's not a game you're expecting to get torn up by the opposing offense. I mean, Giants fans are wanting to, are questioning Daniel Jones staying the starter and all of that, and he comes in here and plays perfectly fine against your defense. The Detroit game, I think you can at least reason away. They're down 6 guys on defense, and Detroit's offense is pretty good. You can understand how a game like that happens. This one's tougher to get to, and I mean, even with the 102-yard fumble return touchdown, I mean, they went straight down the field, 16 plays, 79 yards on that drive. Like, if you want to take like a bigger picture of what that game looked like, I mean, they probably should have lost by more today, to be perfectly honest. And their defensive inability to do much of anything, they lost the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, and particularly with the defense, it was just not a strong effort by any stretch.
I mean, Curtis, just to follow, that's a 36-13 game.
Yeah, I mean, that's
what that is.
It's easily a double-digit loss, realistically, how you want to look at it. So maybe you could say the blocked field goal kind of evens things out at the end in some ways. But, they were thoroughly outplayed by a mediocre New York Giants team.
Tim, how does that, you touched on it a little bit there, and it bears worth going back to, especially of how he looked in the second half against Detroit coming out, after being away for a couple of games. I still can't wrap my head around Ken Walker getting 5 carries, 2 in the first half. And it just seemed there was a stretch. It was I don't know if it was the first series of the third quarter, second series of the third quarter. I mean, he didn't even touch it. I think he touched the ball 1 time. I mean, I'm just curious why they got away from it. They never established it. I'm baffled by that decision by Ryan Grubb.
Well, I think it stems a little bit. We talked about last week about the struggles of this offensive line and how having Ken Walker in the lineup is so important because he's the back that can, make the first guy miss and make something out of a play that's not there. The strength of the Giants is their defensive front. They have a pretty good defensive line, whether it's Dexter Lawrence or Kayvon Thibodeau or whoever they have up there. Their defensive front is probably the strength of their entire team. So I understand the idea of you need to go out and maybe throw the ball early to get them to back off a little bit, and then you can turn to the run and try and work it that way. They just didn't do anything offensively in those first couple of drives to start to do that, and then you kind of got in that situation a little bit last week, where similar to last week, where I think, and Ryan Grubb got into this a little bit at Washington at times, where it's just so easy to get up on the line and call a pass play. It's the nature of where football is right now. It's easy to go no huddle. It's easier to make your call at the line of scrimmage based on what you're seeing from that the defense is showing and just call a pass play. And so often now, pass plays are serving as extended versions of runs. It's just the way it is through the different kinds of wide receiver screens or the backs out of the backfield. It's just the nature of where offensive football is these days. But to your point, you got to establish some semblance of traditional run. It's got to be there if you're going to have balance and success in your offense. And they just never got to that point today. And then you look up and you're like, oh crap, Ken Walker has 5 carries. That just can't happen.
Right.
The nature. I think the nature of the game, kind of the flow of it and the way it played out, is sort of what dictated that. But it would not surprise me if we look up Thursday night when they play San Francisco and Ken Walker has 10 carries in the first half. It feels like it's become that noticeable and that much attention has been put on it, where there's going to be a drastic change here moving forward.
I mean, Curtis, I mean, there's going to be a lot of discussion about Grubb's play calling, the decision to throw it as much as they were throwing it. Again, he threw it 40 times today in a game that was, you take away the blocked field goal, they got a chance to tie it up. They're going to go into overtime and maybe have a shot to win it. And then you look at, with the combo of Ken Walker and Charbonnet, 7 carries between your 2 backs. That's not balance, and that's not what you're not going to win too many games doing that. I mean, I get how the offensive philosophy has changed, I want to switch gears to the defense, but do you have more on the offense?
Yeah, I just want to. I mean, they didn't throw it 40 times; they threw it 51 times.
Oh, 51.
Realistically, because they had 7 sacks and 4 scrambles
Right.
off of Geno runs. Like, they dropped back on 51 of 58 snaps in the game to throw the ball, which is just a staggering amount. And, you know, maybe a galaxy brain thought on what they were doing here is because of the Thursday night game coming up, do they want to limit the pounding that the running backs were going to take, knowing that the 49ers game was around the corner, trying to manage things a little bit looking ahead? Is that possibly part of the equation? It's possible. But, I mean, as Tim mentioned, like the Giants' defensive fronts, the strength of their team, the run defense, and it's like they tried to deal with the run defense by not dealing with the run defense and just not running at it. And so whether it would have changed the circumstances of the game, I don't think any of us can even speak to that necessarily, but just how heavily skewed the run-pass ratio was really strange.
Yeah, but I think that to me, and Tim, you touched on in the beginning, but Curtis, I mean, the storyline is you talk about an offense that was bad. It was a bad offense going into the game. It was a bad offense with Singletary and Malik Neighbors. It was not a good offense. And then you take those two guys out, and I don't know, maybe it's just human nature. Maybe these guys saw that and said, Malik Neighbors, best player, he's not even going to play. Hey, Devin Singletary's not going to play. We're going to coast, man. We're going to blow these guys out. And maybe they let the guard down. But, I mean, that offense did whatever they wanted against Mike Macdonald. And this is you hired this guy specifically for one reason and one reason only, to fix the defense. And now we got back-to-back games where, and again, you can go back and blame the injuries on Monday, but they were pushed around in that game. And Detroit did whatever they wanted in that game. New York comes into town, Curtis, who have really no offensive weapons, and they did whatever they wanted against his defense.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, you could explain David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs having, some solid games against you. To see Tyrone Tracy go for $120, I don't think I knew who Tyrone Tracy was before kickoff of this game.
Never heard of him. Where $5? Where'd he go to school?
I don't know. I thought he was drafted in the 5th round. That's all I know. So,
Tim, it's a popular drink.
It's a popular drink.
I mean, I don't know. I like it.
Okay.
He's a Boilermaker.
I know.
Oh yeah.
I said Purdue. I said Purdue, and Curtis decided to talk over me. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Curtis, you're right. I never heard of this guy. Now I'm scrambling to get him on my fantasy team.
Well, they aren't playing the Seahawks going forward, so that might not work as well.
He looked amazing, though.
He did perfectly fine. I mean, there was plenty of room for him to run most of the day, too. I mean, even before the lost fumble on the first drive, basically benched the other dude that they had in there, Eric Gray. Like, they had the back-to-back screen plays that they went to that were gashed wide open on the wings, too. So it's not like, it's not like they had much struggle finding ways to move the football down the field on the Seahawks defense.
No, and I thought this was going to be they still can't defend a screen. I don't know why. Still can't figure that one out, Tim.
It's written into the bylaws of the Seattle Seahawks charter as a franchise that they're unable to defend a screen pass. But I think it's 3 times in 5 games you've been gashed by the run.
Oh yeah, like New England. I didn't even mention them.
New England ran for I think 180. Yeah. The Giants today running for 175. Detroit could have run for a lot more last week and just decided not to run David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs much in the second half of that game. Like you have some run defense issues right now, and I don't. It's hard to know where the issue is. Is it problems on the interior defensive line? Is it your linebackers aren't in great position? Like but you're getting gashed. Like these aren't just 3 yards in a cloud of dust constantly. These are 8, 10, 12-yard runs that are happening, and that's again, to your point, Puck, you brought in Mike Macdonald to fix the defense, and right now what's popping up is the same issues that you've had for the last several years of getting gashed in the run game. And is Byron Murphy's absence that significant? Like it is significant that not to have that talented guy on your defensive line right now, but is it so much that you're getting just run over in the way that you are right now? Is Boye Mafe that good at setting the edge that no one else can step in and replicate that to the point that you can actually stop the run. Like these are very significant issues that are showing up that, again, I think question how good your depth is outside of your frontline starters, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a huge red flag. I mean, it's a red flag in the beginning of the season because, to your point, this was the biggest issue that they needed to solve from their defense was to how do they stop? I mean, one, how do they improve overall as a defense? Number two is, especially that running game. And to your point, Tim, I don't know. Curtis, I'll ask you. I don't know what is the biggest issue. Is it the defensive line or the linebackers? My gut tells me this. Just watching the games, uneducated, sometimes falling asleep a little bit, is they are not dynamic at the linebacker position. That's just how it feels to me. But, I mean, maybe something will come out, some stat or analytics will say, no, you're way off. It's the defensive line. That's just how it feels to me. I don't feel those guys make any plays or is many as that they should now because the defensive line isn't doing their job. How do you see it, Curtis?
I do think there was some times today where the linebackers didn't get off the second level blocks to get to the run as well as you would like to see. I think, I mean, it's cliche as hell. It's both. Like when the holes in the line of scrimmage is as wide open as it is, it's tougher to get a guy down. And if the guy's going full speed by the time he's hitting the line through an open hole, guess what? It's going to be tougher to tackle that guy too if you aren't able to square him up in the hole. All of these things kind of play factors. But as you mentioned, like the questions going into the season were what? Line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, right? And that's what we've seen through 5 weeks on the offensive line still. And particularly in the 3 games where the running games really jumped up and did them against New England, Detroit, and now today against the Giants, where that still appears to be an issue with the running game. We saw it coming out of the New England game. Miami was too bad to try to do anything against them in that particular contest. But it's basically been like a month straight now where the running game is getting through just fine on the Seattle defense, and it's something they have to get cleaned up, particularly with the 49ers coming in, who tend to like to run the football themselves quite a bit, even if they don't have Christian McCaffrey.
Well, that's right. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, I think the Giants just proved it against them. Well, it doesn't matter, right, Tim, that they don't have Christian McCaffrey, Mason. I mean,
Jordan Mason's a good enough back.
Yeah, I can do exactly what Tyrone Tracy out of Purdue was able to do. I mean,
well, and it felt like today that the Giants really took advantage of having the extra days off and being able to watch. They played the previous Thursday and being able to watch Seattle on Monday night. It felt like they had time to really scheme up a running plan or a running system to take advantage of what Seattle had. And maybe that just hasn't been the case up to, to this point, to this degree, that you could have a guy like Tyrone Tracy come in and run for 130 yards, but it felt like the Giants scheme, whether it was the screen passes early, the way they actually called their passing game and didn't really put Daniel Jones into terrible situations. The way it felt like they were running a lot of off tackle, and they were kind of running to the edge, but not running to the outside to where you would have like Witherspoon or the safeties coming down, but more kind of attacking that sort of defensive end, outside linebacker edge. And finding success there. It just felt like a very well schemed up game that the Giants had, which I think was a benefit for them of having the extra days off and then catching Seattle on a short week and being able to watch that Monday night game and pull things from what the Lions were able to do and put that together.
And right now, Curtis, you start looking ahead to some of these games. I mean, you are in a real position here early in the season. And God, I thought the first month went swimmingly. I mean, I did a whole thing on Friday about how that first month of the season, you've passed the first month as a new coach and Mike Macdonald with flying colors. He's 3-1. There's some issues, but you have to be satisfied after the first month of the season where he is headed, where this team is headed. God, now after this game, you start looking ahead and go, Thursday night, you got San Francisco, who's coming off a loss to Arizona. They're going to be pissed off. I mean, both teams are going to be pissed off on Thursday because they know that you don't want to slip back anymore. You got to get things right. So San Francisco's going to come in all guns a-blazing, wanting to win that game. And then you got to go at Atlanta, which again, high-powered offense. That's going to present a ton of problems for Seattle. Then they come back home to take on Buffalo. I mean, man, God. And then you get the Rams. So, again, I know the Rams are the Rams. They're all beat up, but it's still a divisional opponent. But these next 3 games, boy, is going to go a long way, Curtis, of maybe how this season goes.
Yeah, and this is why it was so important for them to get ahead of the sticks in the first month of the season against the teams that they were facing, because this stretch was going to be coming. And we talked about before the year about the fact that this coaching staff is all completely new in their roles at the NFL level. You know, first-time head coach, first-time NFL offensive coordinator, first-time NFL defensive coordinator. There was going to be some growing pains along the way somewhere. Welcome to them, because they're in them right now. You know, whether you want to point to the 4th down decision that they made to go for it in their own end there early in the 4th quarter, trying to get back into things as well. And that play blowing up, you know, courtesy of Brian Burns pretty spectacularly and leading to a short field goal that seemed like it might be the difference in the game there for a while. When all was said and done, to the running game split today for the offensive side, to the running game sub defensively the last 2 weeks for the defensive side, there's some growing pains that they're going through right now for sure. And as you mentioned, you could flip the script entirely if you win Thursday night and get back up,
Sure.
you know, above water against your divisional rival in the 49ers, and all of a sudden you can kind of move past this one a little bit quicker. But yeah, those games coming up against the frisky Atlanta team, Buffalo team that still can do plenty, all of those things are going to be more challenging for sure.
Tim, what did you think? Was it the first time that maybe that Ryan Grubb was outmatched?
I don't know if he was outmatched. I just think I think he just got out of sorts with what needed to be the focus. Like I don't necessarily think it was an outmatched thing, because I don't think the way the Giants, I didn't see anything from the Giants defensive scheme that was like, oh my God, they're doing something completely different and they've never seen this before. It just felt like it was a poorly called and executed game early on. You didn't have the ball enough. You weren't able to establish anything on those first couple of drives. Here's the Giants going 9 minutes down the field. You get the fumble return for a touchdown, and then your defense is right back on the field. So your offense is sitting there forever, not getting a chance to get out there and create any sort of rhythm offensively. That takes you out of your rhythm as a play caller, trying to find what the flow of the actual game is. So I don't necessarily think he got out schemed or out coached in this way. I just feel like the offense and Grubb in particular never found a rhythm to get into the game. And that, I think, was part of what led to the lack of running attempts with Ken Walker and with Zach Charbonnet, was just you didn't have the traditional cadence of how a game goes, because you punt, they keep the ball for 10 minutes, you get a fumble return, and your defense is right back out on the field, and you're Gino's sitting over there twiddling his thumbs going, well, when the hell do I get to actually play in this game again?
Yeah.
So I feel like that was more what happened versus the Giants throwing some sort of crazy scheme at them that really caused the problems today.
Curtis, why does it appear, and it has been the case, that DK just has a ball security issue?
I think he gets into some vulnerable positions from time to time, whether it is those straining for extra yards. All of a sudden now he's falling while guys are rallying to the ball, and the ball can get out away from your body just that little bit, or circumstances happen to where that becomes an issue. Today's one I thought was kind of a pretty normal fumble. You're going to get some of those from time to time. I didn't think it was anything too egregious, but it's just, when you look at the entirety of his career and the number of fumbles that he's had in circumstances like that, it's not ideal. But there were so many other problems in this game. Certainly that fumble hurt because they were driving. First drive in the third quarter, had a chance to get points on the board for sure. You don't want to see it, but it wasn't something that was like, oh my God, you can't have that. Those are plays that I think happen throughout the course of an NFL season. But it's something he still needs to try to be aware of for sure, because it does happen to him a little bit more often than you'd like to see.
Hey, Tim, give me a clarification on the blocked field goal. I thought that was, regardless, I thought that was illegal, jumping over a player.
As long as you don't touch the player, it's legal for you to actually leap. As long as there's two factors to it. One is you can't touch the lineman. The second piece of it is you cannot have a running start. So the fact that Isaiah Simmons was able to just take one step and leap over the lineman, one, freak athlete. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's a freak athletic play. But two, and the other piece of it too, which we found out from the NFL actually made the play legal, is Dexter Lawrence on the one side, and I can't remember who the defensive lineman was on the other
Raheem
side.
Raheem
Okay.
Nunez Roches, yeah.
Thank you.
Por favor.
Sounds like an exterminator company. Dexter Lawrence kind of shoves down Laken Tomlinson on his back, and that allows Simmons a little bit more space to clear and get over the line. That's all legal. As long as you're not hitting the player in the head, as long as it's his back, that's a legal move that a defensive lineman can make. So that was something that the Giants special teams coach went to Brian Daboll, the head coach, on Tuesday and said, hey, we think we can actually do this. And in a critical situation where we need to have a block. They saw something on film that whether it was Tomlinson lowering his head or just the alignment being low or whatever it might be, they saw an opportunity there and went to their most freak athlete guy that they had who was not on kick block until this week.
Right. This is first week, right?
Yes. And said, go out there and do your thing. And he saved the game for them with an incredible athletic play.
What about the contact to the long snapper for Seattle? Can you make contact?
Same thing. You can't do it to the head and neck, but the pushing on the back is perfectly fine after the snap.
They're protected in college, and you can't line up. You can't line up head on with the snapper. You have to be offset from them, and they're protected in college. College, you can't touch them. In the pros, as long as you're not lined up head on to them, you can make contact with the snapper.
It was a hell of a play. I mean,
phenomenal play.
One of the best plays I've ever seen.
It was so reminiscent of the Cam Chancellor.
Yep.
A block that he had back in the day, and similar sized guy, a guy who probably should be. Isaiah Simmons has been kind of that tweener guy throughout his career about whether he's a linebacker or a safety. Similar build, similar size to Cam, and here he is leaping over offensive linemen and blocking kicks in critical moments.
You think, Tim? You think Geno thought he had the first down when he went into his slide?
I think I think so. That's the only reason why he would do that in that situation. I'm guessing he kind of glanced over and thought he was at the marker and slid. It's not Geno's nature to slide before you get to the sticks. I think he just misplaced where he was on the field at that moment.
Curtis, they I'll tell you what, we've been clamoring for it. Well, many people have been clamoring for it. God, you got to get that rotation at guard, right? It's got to be Haynes and Bradford. Christian Haynes can't play. He can't pass block. He cannot do it. He gets pushed back more than I've ever seen a guard get pushed back. Every time they try to attempt to pass, I mean, the defensive lineman just shoves them 5 yards back. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. Usually coaches don't play the worst guy. They tend to want to try to win the games. And in general, they put the guy out there they think does the better job.
Yeah, but they put him. That's what I'm saying. But they can't even do a rotation with this guy. He cannot play.
So that's why Anthony Bradford was the starter the first 3 weeks. And he's been the starter every week. But that's why they haven't played Christian Haynes over him. It goes back to the same thing like Hasselbeck, Whitehurst back in the day. They play the better player. That doesn't mean Anthony Bradford doesn't have his own issues too, because he does.
Did have good hair though, Curtis.
That was the only thing he had. And so guard position remained a problem for him. Center position certainly would have been a problem for him too if they hadn't added Connor Williams. They'd be that much more worse off. Think about it. Going back to training camp, the two centers they had, one's playing in Cleveland and the other's been inactive for 3 of your 5 games in Oluwatimi. So that was going to be your starting backup. Nick Harris and Oluwatimi were going to be your center position up until about the second week of training camp.
Hey, Tim, on his headstone, when John Schneider passes, it's going to say architect of a Super Bowl team. Also, could never draft or develop an offensive lineman.
Or pay for an offensive lineman.
Or pay for one.
Yeah.
Who's the last guy? Who's the last guy they paid? What's the left tackle?
Russell Okung.
Okung, right? But no, I'm really paid. Was Russell Okung the last one they really paid?
Pretty much.
Probably.
The last legitimate guy that they paid. Yeah. It's probably Russell Okung.
Charles Cross will be. Cross is going to be. Cross is a dude.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I think they'll have to re-up Charles Cross because that guy can play. Everything else just feels like a crapshoot on the offensive line right now. I mean, it really does. Just like even like Connor Williams didn't play great today. He had the false start penalty. He didn't look that great. But yeah, I mean, everything else. Stone Forsythe's been pretty good for the couple of weeks he's been filling in, and he had a couple of procedure penalties today. And now in 2 weeks, you're going to roll Jason Peters out there at 42 years old and have him jump. Like it's just one stopgap after another of trying to come up with solutions for this, this constant leak that never gets fully fixed in terms of having a functional offensive line.
Well, they're 3.5-point dogs at home. Again, the early line, San Francisco favored by 3.5 against Seattle on Thursday. I mean, a few days. I mean, how you give them a chance against these guys? Or San Francisco's going to watch the tape, boys, and see what New England did on the ground, what Detroit did on the ground, and clearly what the Giants did on the ground. I mean, how do they pull off the win on Thursday?
They reestablish the run game themselves. Find a way to take advantage of. San Francisco's defense isn't quite what it's been. But, you saw the Cardinals had really good. Now you have a really mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray, who was sort of running all over the place, making plays. But the Cardinals were able to have some success with James Conner on the ground today. I think you have to find a way to establish the run game yourselves and just get back into a traditional rhythm with what you're calling offensively. And defensively, you have to stop Jordan Mason. You have to make life uncomfortable for Brock Purdy. And even when you make life uncomfortable for Brock Purdy, one of his big strengths is not getting flustered in the pocket and being able to keep plays alive and find those really talented guys downfield. There were, as the game was going on with the Cardinals, you'd see highlights flash up every so often, and here's Brock Purdy like extending the play a little bit, and then finding Brandon Ayuk for 25 yards downfield or whatever it might be. The weapons that the Niners have are really scary in terms of that offense, but it all starts, I think, with stopping Jordan Mason, stopping that run game early, and then just making things just uncomfortable for Purdy. You do that enough. I think he's, as much as he's shown some steadiness, I think there's the opportunity to cause him to make some mistakes along the way.
All right, Curtis, you get the last word. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game they can win. I mean, the 49ers have lost to both Arizona and the Rams so far, or early in the season here. So they're plenty beat up, and there's holes in their game too. But they have to play cleaner football than they've played the last 2 weeks, particularly on the defensive side, because where the 49ers are good can press on some of the areas where Seattle isn't. If they're going to show their weaknesses as heavily as they have the last 2 weeks here, particularly that run game. If they get that going, it's going to be a tough day for them.
There they are. It's the Ground Chuck podcast. Did I say Chuck? I meant Puck.
Yes.
The Ground Puck podcast.
You screwed up the name of your own podcast.
I did. I already did. I knew I was going to do that. Well, we are honoring the greatest head coach in the Seattle Seahawks history, Chuck Knox. Don't even come at me with Pete Carroll. Just let me have Chuck Knox. The 12-year-old wants Chuck Knox. All right. The hat, the jacket, everything. Hey, is Dave Craig going to play today? No, he's injured. What's wrong with him? He's got a knee. Anything else? No, he's just got a knee.
Correct me. They're in those uniforms this Thursday night too, aren't they?
They are.
They are. Did you see the Broncos, by the way?
Yeah,
it looked beautiful.
Oh, just beautiful.
Beautiful. They should have rolled them out on week one
and
had them do. It would have been
the
greatest uniform game ever.
Oh, the Broncos. I mean, as much as I hate that team, they're just so pretty. They're so pretty. All right, there it is. The Ground Puck podcast. Curtis Crabtree, Fox 13. Tim Booth, Seattle Times. Yes, he's over at the Seattle Times right now. Are you going to change your Twitter handle?
No. It's going to stay the same.
Okay.
It's just buy Tim Booth. No reason to change it.
I don't know if you're going to go Tim Booth Times or something like that. I don't know. Something fancy.
No, I'm good. I'm happy with where it is.
They join me every Monday talking Seahawks, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Go get yourself a beer. at Georgetown Brewery. It's good for you. It's good for the soul. Doctors say 1 to 7 beers a day is good for you. Go to georgetownbeer.com. Go visit the brewery if you haven't done it. It's open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Go open to close. If you go open to close, they'll throw in a hat and a coaster for you if you do open and close. In case you missed this, you want to go back and watch it, it'll be up on YouTube. You can also listen to it, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, up at PuckSports.com. All right, boys, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, there they are. We caught up with those guys yesterday. Tim Booth of the Seattle Times and Curtis Crabtree, of course, of Fox 13. They join me every Monday, the Ground Puck podcast, talking all things Seahawks. As we honor the greatest head coach in Seahawks history. That would be the legendary Chuck Knox. If you don't know who Chuck Knox is, educate yourselves, people. All right, we're going to wrap it up, a Monday edition of the radio program. A couple of housekeeping notes here real quick. On the app, if you have the app, the PuckSports mobile app on the iOS system, Android users, it's coming soon. I promise. We have fixed the bug to where you can listen to the show live and then leave the app. Be able to do other things on your phone, have it in the background, and it's not shutting off. In the past, it was shutting off. It's not shutting off anymore. All you got to do is just update it in the App Store. Just update the PuckSports mobile app. If that doesn't work, just re-download it, erase it and re-download it again. But I just tweeted out moments ago of just using the app. It's been updated where, again, you can listen to the show live on your phone, plug it in your car, we're driving around, all that. And then you can leave and just go look at other stuff, Twitter, whatever. And so that has been fixed. Big thanks to Jacob, the app guy, for getting that done. And he tells me the Google Play process is going well, should be resolved soon. So you Android users, few bugs to just make sure we get out and we'll fix it, and should be available here shortly. So that's an update there on the PuckSports mobile app. All right, let's get to it. We wrap up every daily puck drop with Hey, What the Puck? It's brought to you by our good friends at Restoration One, North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Let's stick here with the Seattle Seahawks and what we were kind of talking about there with Curtis and Tim there on the Ground Puck podcast, and also a little bit there with Jim Moore, who joined us for an hour to start off the show today. I mean, I would go back to Friday. We did this Hey, What the Puck, and just sitting there praising Mike Macdonald for how they've navigated the first part of the season to be 3-1. This is coming off the Monday night game. And I really did want to believe in a way that injuries played a part into how they looked on Monday night. I know, though, deep down in my soul and that big gut I have, I was leery of, they still don't look 100%. They still don't look great on defense. And I just keep going back to that New England Patriots game in which Ramondre Stevenson was just running all over the place on them. And those were huge holes and gaps, and they had no problems moving the football on the ground. And that's a one-dimensional football team, right? Jacoby Brissett's nothing. He's no good. And then I'm watching New England play, since they played the Seahawks, and they're terrible. I mean, that's a bad football team. And so as I've watched New England play since that game, and to see what they haven't been able to do against other teams, then I've become more scared's not the right word, more concerned about where this defense is at. Mike Macdonald had one thing to fix, and that has been the defense. And so far, when teams have wanted to run the football, they have run it down their throats. New England did it. Clearly the Giants did it. Detroit could have done it if they wanted to do it with Gibbs and Montgomery, but Jared Goff was on such a heater throwing the football. And that doesn't mean that they should also get a pass on their pass defense. I mean, you're coming off a game in which Goff was 19 of 19 on Monday night, and at one point during the game on Sunday, Daniel Jones was like 11 of 12. I mean, just easy throws, guys wide open. So, I think through the first 5 weeks, you go, God, I mean, there's some things you like. They're not forcing enough turnovers. They're not tackling well. All things that got that first Denver game. I was like, man, that was the best tackling performance I've seen from a Seahawks defense in a long, long time. It has progressively gotten worse since then in each game where they just don't look like they're tackling all that well. I don't know what the latest numbers were this week coming out from PFF. They do the missed tackles. I don't know where it was at, probably double digits. I don't know how much, but they just seem to not be in the right position, missing a lot of tackles, and get them just way too much cushion on the outside, easy completions. And it's not going to get any easier coming up on Thursday. You are facing, without a doubt, the most diverse, multiple offense that this division has and this conference has. And despite all their injuries, they can still do a ton of damage against you. Purdy's is banged up a little bit. No McCaffrey, injuries galore. Ayuk still not, and Shanahan still not on the same page. But this is going to be both teams are wounded. San Francisco's a really wounded team right now at sitting with their record is at 2-3. And for both teams who have yet to win a game in the conference, whoever loses this thing, I mean, you're not completely out after 6 weeks of the playoffs, but my God, you want to talk about an uphill climb. I mean, really for San Francisco, they lose on Thursday. They're 2-4 now, haven't won in the conference. I mean, you think about the clip that they need to play at to finish the season. For Seattle, if they're to lose at 3-3, but still haven't won a game in the conference, all right, you got 6, 11. You got 11 games to sit there and make that up. But the schedule for them right after this it's so much more difficult. That's why we talked about on Friday the next 5 weeks, they needed to take advantage of the schedule in front of them. That's why the Giants game was such a must win, because of what was on the horizon for them. For their next 5 games at home, but so you get San Francisco again on a short week. They're going to see the tape what New England did, going to see the tape what Detroit did, and see what the Giants did. They're going to run at you nonstop. Tight ends, slants, every screen game. You think Kyle Shanahan has a better screen game than Brian Daboll? Yeah. What do you think you're going to get a healthy dose of on Thursday to put those linebackers in positions to try and stop that? And then you got to go to Atlanta, which has an explosive offense, fast track, good quarterback. This will be, well, besides Purdy, will be, the next 2 opponents. These are the 2 best quarterbacks you're faced all year, in Brock Purdy and Kirk Cousins. Then you come home and take on Josh Allen. I know Josh Allen was terrible yesterday, 9 of 30 was awful. But again, another playmaker built in the same way Daniel Jones moves around, running plays. And then you get the Rams, and the Rams have always kind of been a thorn in your side. I mean, this is a crucial stretch here in the next 4 weeks. Depending on how this could go next month, these next 4 games determine whether or not you get in the postseason or not. Here for Mike Macdonald and the Seahawks, they have got to figure out this defense. And then on the flip side of it, offensively, if all the great stuff that this organization has done, one thing that they have not been able to do is solve this offensive line. Cross is a good first step, and they probably had it in Abe Lucas, and you can't factor in injuries, and that sucks for Abe Lucas, because it appeared that you bookended the tackles. Why they can't figure out the interior offensive line. Christian Haynes ain't the guy right now, guys. He's just not. I mean, you go back and watch some of those plays and watch him get his ass handed to him on pass plays. I mean, driven back. And that's why he's not playing, because he can't pass protect. They can't put him in there. He's a liability. And the 3rd round? He's an absolute liability right now. Anthony Bradford's no good. You think of course they want to replace Anthony Bradford, but Christian Haynes can't do it. It's crazy in sports how much your outlook and feelings change from a team so quickly. Real gung-ho Friday. I thought they'd win comfortably on Sunday. I really did. Jim was much more, I mean, he's called it a trap game. He's right. And I thought they'd roll the Giants. At least win by 10 or more. But and I'll stand by what I said yesterday. I think it's one of the worst defensive performances in the history of this organization. It was terrible. It was so bad because that offense wasn't good, and they weren't good with Singletary, and they weren't good with Neighbors. And you let them look like all pros out there without those guys. I mean, a guy that no one's ever heard of in a running back, and Darius Slayton thought he was dead. And Daniel Jones looked amazing. Real concern. So we'll see what happens on Thursday, see if they can turn it around. Week 6 is it a must win. That certainly will be a storyline as the week goes on. All right, that's it for Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. In case you missed any of today's show, it will all be up on YouTube shortly. Please like and subscribe. Leave comments there on YouTube. We appreciate it. We air every day on X too as well. You can rewatch it there. Also on the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find a podcast, it is up there. Please rate and like there as well. It all benefits, okay? Coming up tomorrow, we've changed some things around with now baseball being officially over. I want to get to this early. Now we're full football. Danny Kelly now will join us on Tuesdays at around 10:20. That will take us right into our visit with John Canzano. So we'll go NFL, then college football. Wednesdays, Rob Staten's going to now join us on Wednesdays, by the way, starting at 10:30 live. We were taping Rob because of his commitment and work, but Wednesday is a day he can actually do it live. So we're going to do it live with Rob on Wednesday starting at 10:30. That takes us right in, or maybe a little early, maybe 10:20. That's going to take us right into 11 o'clock. Where we will bring him back. The Human Pony Cake is going to be with us all off season. Ryan Divish, Seattle Times, will stick around. We'll talk baseball. We'll talk football. Ryan can talk everything. He'll join us at 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. And then Thursdays, Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network. And then Fridays remains the same. We got Troy Wins, our handicapper. Jim's back. And then, of course, we wrap up every Friday with Chris Egan from King 5. All right. That's it for us. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No shirt, no shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!